Great. I hope everyone had a nice refreshing break. I see everyone took my advice, went out on the balcony, which is a nice bit of a breeze, and I hope the workshops were useful as well. So, as you'll see from the agenda, our panel discussion topic is CV building. Oh, first of all, sorry, we have been taking pictures throughout the forum. If you don't want your photos to be used, please do let one of us know so we can not use them. There's no problem at all, but please let us know. We will be filming the panel discussion, but nobody actually is in shot apart from these three, so that should be fine. And we will be doing little interviews afterwards to find out about your experiences to help us with sort of marketing for the future. So if anyone would like to take part in our filming, please do let us know at the end. So the discussion for the next hour or so is CV building the main reason why people choose to volunteer. So we know that one of the motivations volunteers have is a chance to develop their skills, fill a gap on their CV and get experience they need for future employment. And we also know there are a variety of other different reasons why people donate their time, and it's important that we understand why people give up their time to us so we can give them the best possible experience. So happy volunteers mean that volunteers stay longer, they're more productive in their roles, and they're great ambassadors for your organisations. So the reason why I wanted to do this discussion topic today was because we have had a wonderful volunteer called Glenn with us since January, and he's been doing a lot of work analysing the data that we get back from clients who use the volunteer centre. So these are people who come in off the streets or book appointments with us to inquire about volunteering. We sit down, chat to them about their background, their skills and their interests, and we signpost them to your organisations depending on what they're interested in. Glenn's been looking at all the stats, so how many men, how many women have been seeing us, if they're unemployed, if they're retired, how old they are, and he's been working on a big project to pull all that information together. And he worked out that the people who have used the volunteer centre, 85% of clients who he spoke to were unemployed and they were looking to volunteer for that very reason, to develop their skills. So we've got three wonderful people here who are able to help us talk about this topic. So we have Philip from Torbay Museum, we have Anita from Anode in Paignton, and we have Debbie from Community Circles, who are all going to explain a little bit about their organisations, how many volunteers they have, and what their motivations are for volunteering. We'll start with you, Philip.
Hi. Well, I think probably most of you know Torbay Museum. I think it's regarded as a medium-sized independent museum. So unlike Brixham, which is a small museum and is totally dependent upon volunteers to open, and unlike Plymouth or RAM, which is the Royal Albert Memorial in Exeter, which are big institutions, they've got a big education role, they are more or less fully funded by local councils or the county council, and have a big staff. We're sort of sitting in the middle there. So we are dependent on volunteers, and increasingly dependent on volunteers to run the model as we see it. And at one time we've probably got 30 plus volunteers on the books at one time, but of those probably nearer 20 are active. We do have a range of activities, and people will regularly write to me or write to the organisation to volunteer. They want to be archaeologists, they want to work with bones, they want to get into the nitty-gritty. That's a bit of an issue for me personally, in as much as the curator team are very, obviously there's only one full-time curator, there's a second assistant curator, there's a big collection of items, 8-9 galleries, plus a huge back store. They don't have time to train the more technical minded or style of volunteering, and so they tend to select their own volunteers through the various or the relatively local museums, universities. So they might come from Southampton, they might come from Exeter, and they've regularly got students in that role, but they aren't. It's not so likely to walk off the street. Motivation from the majority of volunteers, the motivation I think is to be involved with history, be involved with art, put something back. But the motive, I think, for the panel discussion particularly, the motivation that they might show when they walk through the door, first of all, can be quite different to the motivation they have for remaining with us for months or years.
That's interesting you say that. So why do you think that is then?
I don't know. Well, I was hoping that might generate some discussion, not give you the answer straight away.
Okay, well, we'll move on then. Anita, we'll move on to you.
So I'm Anita, I'm from Anode, and we're a social action charity based in Paignton. We cover Torbay. We have over 50 volunteers. We do everything from food parcels to helping people with furniture, low-cost furniture, painting, decorating, garden maintenance, making them feel safe in their homes. So we do something with an organisation called Feel Safe, which is could be just putting locks on doors or burglar alarms, fire alarms, that sort of thing. People come to us for all different reasons. It could be we get a lot of people that are retired, but also it could be that CV. I wouldn't say a lot of people that come to us are for putting something on their CV, but I do always say to people, this is great for your CV when you are ready to go back to work, because it is. People having something that they've done voluntary on a CV. They've done that out of the goodness of their own heart without having any money coming in for it. I think, if I was employing somebody and seeing that on CV, I think it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Anita. And Debbie?
Community Circles is relatively new in Torbay. It's been about 3 months now, since the beginning of March, so we're very in the early stages. Community Circles is a charity, and it helps people to basically get more out of their life. So if you say to somebody, if I could, I would, what would you like to do? And we create a circle which enables people to be able to be supported in that. We're linked in with Love to Care, which is a social enterprise based in Torbay, and it's about supporting people in their own homes and then taking it to the next phase onwards so that we can actually help them to get more out into the community. Quite a lot at the moment is like the elderly population, supporting some amazing 90-year-olds who are just want to get out there and really be part of the community again. So we're at the early stages in terms of our volunteers. Our first volunteer is absolutely the model that you're saying, is in terms of Emma has come along to us and has said, I really want to change careers. I've been working in one field and I want to move into understanding how care works. But to do that, she's not able to actually, for various reasons, she can't do it right now, but she wants to learn the skills so that she can then take that on a more sort of permanent basis. And she wants to do that over the next year. So it's really great for me to be able to sort of mentor and help and support her to be able to make that move. So at the moment she's shadowing me with connecting and facilitating. So it's definitely, I wasn't expecting that, and that's the thing, when you have the conversations with people you don't know actually where the motivation lies. This came from an initial coffee conversation, and it's really interesting to see just people want to come and join your organisation because they love your values, and it's about, I suppose I'm putting back my recruitment head back on again from when I was recruited for 4 years, is thinking, okay, where best are they placed? And it could be in a different type of role. So early stages at the moment, but yes, people do volunteer, I've noticed, for that reason.
Sounds good. And also you volunteer in a lot of different places as well. Do you think?
I do, yes.
Sort of volunteer motivations are similar there?
No, for me, I volunteer for our local radio station, Riviera FM. Previous to that, I was actually doing that 4 years ago, 4 years back in Surrey, before I moved here. My motivation for radio was I noticed that nobody was doing the type of programming that I wanted to put out there, so I sort of thought I need to learn how to do this. So it was learning a new skill, and hadn't thought about a career in radio. It was just about to be part of something, now I feel part of the Riviera FM family. So for me, my motivation is learning a new skill, and also having an outlet, a special outlet, because I can talk about things I want to talk about, and maybe other people I'm talking about. So yeah, I also volunteer for a local farm as well, and my motivation there has been to get closer to nature and to actually, rather than talking about stuff, is actually get on and do it. And I really love that. So I volunteer in different things to give me different parts of my life.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Things that I can't necessarily get in other parts of my work, I like to be able to volunteer, and that's the way it's worked so far.
Great, sounds good. Well, thank you very much. Does anyone have any initial questions for our three panellists?
Yeah, Peter, last time at the forum you were saying that you struggled a lot getting any younger people. Most of your volunteers were older. Does that, so you know, if you're talking about moving forward their CV, how does that work for them? Do you think that both of those are totally different?
Well, the older volunteers, you mean? I think it's quite right that the quite a few volunteers are coming to the end of their working lives. They may have retired early, they may have retired later. Am I answering the right? Does that sound like I'm going to answer the right question?
But no, I'll tell you when you finish.
Well, you threw me a bit there, but we do get what I would call, obviously change of career volunteers as well. And although I don't know that they think that coming to us is going to change their direction wholly, but it does, you know, if it's quite a different angle, it just exposes them to something else, some sort of other activity. I mean, we do find it, since then, I have found it a little easier to recruit younger volunteers. And some of those clearly are motivated by CV only. But that element I found not so much locally, but when I was up in London running a property for the National Trust in London, that was a much bigger thing. There seemed to be more mobility and more people moving around in London than there is down here.
Yeah, but is that a lot to do with the fact that a lot of people actually move down here to retire?
Certainly, but there are. Yeah, but you only have to be on the road to Exeter in the morning, you know, don't you? To see the number of people that work in Exeter, and they're all working. You know, they're not retired. They're going in driving. And I've worked in Exeter on and off over the last 10 years, and so there are plenty of people that could be changing careers, that could be getting involved. Yeah, perhaps not as many as up in town. I agree.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if the panel or anyone else has had experience of people whose motivation maybe changed over time. So they may come initially to build their CV, but actually their motivation may change. And in particular, if anyone who's come for that reason and possibly got a job, but then stayed on in maybe less capacity, but because they've come to really empathise with the organisational aims, or they just enjoy work, volunteering there.
Yeah, we've had people that have come a little bit to do with their CV, a little bit to do with the actual not being able to find work, so just needed to keep motivated and have moved on, got jobs, which is I love it when that happens, and actually still volunteer with us now. I can think of a few people that are working now and still come along, or still just come back at Christmas when we do big food hamper things. So they come back, which is lovely.
It sounds like you've got one-off volunteering opportunities as well that allows people who do secure sort of work to come back and just volunteer on one-off.
Yeah, they still want to be involved. They love what we do, and they do still want to be involved, but if they're working full-time they can't. But there are odd things that we do on weekends that they still come back to, which is really good to see.
But allowing people to do those more one-off things, as you suggest, means that they can continue to be an ambassador. So they may not be filling an hour sheet or causing any expenses, but even in their daily work, so 5 days a week they may be an ambassador. They might only help once every 6 months for an event. People do that for us. And to answer your question more directly, Peter, I've certainly had people who've come in to make themselves more employable, shall we say, by getting more sort of concrete stuff. And this could be a return to work from various challenges in their lives, and their object, or it's been sold to them by an agency that, you know, to start to feather the CV, but actually working with us or volunteering with us has actually done more than you can possibly put on the CV. Well, I mean, not more than anybody who's intelligent enough to understand what that actually means, but in reality, it's not something you can write down. You know, they've got more out of it than simply a line or a couple of lines on the CV.
I think it's built their confidence, hasn't it, to
Mm-hmm.
then, so when they are going for the job, it's built their confidence up a lot more to actually be confident in the interview process and to actually get the job as well.
And I think the people that even younger people who see, who are told by school, by employment agencies, by various sort of situations that volunteering is a valuable add-on to a CV. I think they will arrive, and they may be at the museum or other organisations I work for might be their first port of call, the first time they've actually done anything formal to help somebody else, but very quickly they go beyond just, again, that line, that they get some value, and do appreciate that they are making a difference, or simply just like coming and being there.
Sorry, do you actually find that people come to you and saying that I want volunteer because it's going on my CV, or are they upfront about when they?
I don't know that. I don't recall in all my years managing volunteers that anybody's actually been that blunt about it. But it doesn't. You know, you can see the difference between people who, and I wouldn't not take somebody on for that, because if nothing else, you're giving them an opportunity, aren't you? Yeah. And people have given us opportunities throughout lives, which may not have been exactly a fit for what they wanted, but you've had that opportunity, so I feel that we're putting something back. Yeah.
How much support do you? I was interested in the support that you give your, because I get a lot of volunteers and they're quite upfront and they say they want to do their CV, change a career. It seems to be quite a sort of thing. How much support do you offer for the CV building?
Well, I think, with the example that I gave earlier on, it's for me, it started as every initial coffee conversation. It's then about identifying, how much time that individual has to give to that, and she really wanted to give herself over to that, allowing for the fact that she could also have other commitments going on as well. And then, we have an e-learning sort of program in terms of the actual facilitator role itself, which I said to her, well, have a read about this, see what you think, let's have another conversation. Does that fit for you? Does it seem right? And we basically went through that, and she said, well, yeah, great. And then because the nature of the job that I do is very much out and about in community, then I said, well, why don't come along to this? It's like giving people the opportunity to be as involved as they want to be, allowing that participation. And then basically we're now organising a summer party on July the 1st. So she's been really key for me because she's got great artistic skills. So she's designed the invites for me, and again we've built over time, so she feels like she's part of that. So there's been some sort of formal training in terms of for the actual volunteer role. But when somebody you get a sense, it's only been about 4 weeks or something, but you get a sense of how much somebody wants to be involved, and you allow them to be as involved as they want to be. So for me, it's always about the individual and seeing how it can evolve from there. And I just really enjoy working with her. So it feels like it's it feels good. So if I had more people like that, then it'd be great.
As much as possible, definitely. I love to see people move on and go out and get a job. So as much as we possibly can, we try and help them with a particular area that can,
And I think we've all been on the other side of the bench, sort of actually doing the employing side and reading CVs. So if people have made, have said that they want a part-time job, they're actually, it is obvious that that's what they're trying to do, is improve their employability, then I would encourage them to record that. It goes as far as we have we have from time to time international students as well, and I will, as a rule, do them some sort of testimonial, and then D.of.E. students. I mean, I know they're doing it for a different reason, but it's good practice for them to be quite distinct about recording, as they're expected to do for that objective. They're expected to record what they've done and take photographs and whatever else. But it's the same. It's the same principle in some respects, to get that, so you don't lose that record, don't you? That's right.
Testimonial was brilliant because I was working with a lady, and she was like return to work mum, really like sort of unconfident, but I could see like she had like great potential but needed sort of help and support, and again was looking at volunteering as a CV building. She went to work for a voluntary organisation in Surrey, and from there then I basically helped her through a reference to be able to get a role as a job coach, which is what I was doing, and now she's absolutely flourishing. It's just amazing. But she didn't know necessarily that was her path, but along the way, you know, through the volunteering, she identified what was good for her, and then actually led her to a new career path, which is doing amazingly in, and I'm just like so proud. It's just great when you can follow somebody through that journey. It's really exciting.
Good. What about you, from your experience, Jan? Do you get a lot of people who come?
Yes, we get different people, different career paths. We also, with the youth justice side, get students that want to come up, because we've got the youth offending team, so we get sort of, and also I can signpost them, because of course I don't know everything, but you can signpost them to yacht officers, you can signpost them to social workers, and to be honest, our team, they love meeting young people, particularly from students, because I don't know, it's like a breath of fresh air to them. Recently I had a lady, January came, and she had an hour with each of the yacht officers, and it did more for them, because they're like, oh yeah, I remember I went into this. So it was a two-way thing. So I can facilitate sometimes signposting and sort of introduce them to people, and other times they can use, as long as they can't be identified, they can use our volunteering as like case studies and things like that. But then I do have a change of career people who want to sort of change a career and want to try working with young people. Is it for them? Do they want to do youth work? Do they want to do group work? You know, so it's a whole mishmash. But I tend to do more signposting to the professionals, but we'll support the volunteers as much as I can.
Yeah, it's a good point about the networking thing, because I don't know if any of you know, but I started off here as a volunteer this time last year, and I got chatting to Peter, and my background is managing volunteers. That's why I started volunteering here, and then because of the contract became available, everything fell into place. Now I'm a paid member of staff, but it was great to come to this forum this time last year to meet different people and find out about different charities in Torbay and what kind of different roles were coming up. So I found that really useful, and be able to meet different people in similar roles was really interesting as well. So yeah, it's a good point about the networking as well.
It's interesting what you say as well about people wanting to explore different options, but they don't know which way to go, because I'm mentoring a young girl at the moment, and she was really explaining to me like the whole idea of like what happens at college, that actually you don't really like have any indication like careers advice or any sort of help and support, so not necessarily knowing what that next path is, but if you can have the opportunity to like try different things out, you know, I mean it's like what youth work is like, it's massive, isn't it? Like, but actually what does it mean? How does this feel? How does it, when I put it on? Is it actually that part? Do I enjoy that bit? You know, is that too administrative? Is that too much out there? It's so key. It's like, how can you expect to know it until you try it? I mean, that's the brilliant thing about volunteering, isn't it? It's a form of try before you buy. Yeah. You know, in terms of to see whether that could be a career path or not, or it might just turn out to be a hobby. Who knows? But unless you try it, you don't know, do you?
I think it's what you were saying, Darren, about are people upfront about wanting to develop their CV? Are they that honest about it? And I meet with a lot of people at Learn Direct. So for those of you who don't know, Learn Direct run a number of courses in their office in Torquay in health and social care, business admin and customer service. So I go up there, speak to the learners when they're halfway through their course about volunteering, and the skills they're learning, they could transfer them into volunteering whilst they're still looking for paid roles. And I often refer many of them to organisations like yourselves. And I always say be upfront about it, because it'll help the organisation keep you and motivate you. And if you say, look, I'm volunteering here because I might want to work here one day, or I want to work in this organisation like yourselves, then it means that the organisation is clearer about how they can manage you better and how they can best support you in your role. So Yeah, so I think that hopefully people will be upfront about it and say that they are looking to develop certain skills, and they can give you different opportunities as well and shape that role to best suit you, I suppose. Yeah.
I actually mentioned it can be good on your CV, and then that will then, they'll either say nothing or go, well, yeah, I'm actually, hopefully going back to looking to work in 6 months or so. Yeah. Try and find out, because we can help them so much more if we know that they're going into work, and if it's in admin, maybe we could get them more into the admin side of it. Or
what stage in the process do you ask the volunteers what's brought them to you? Did you ask them at
right at the beginning? Yeah.
Okay.
Me too, definitely. The more you know up front, the more you can sort of like plan the right sort of programme for them and to know, how you can develop best, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, yes, that's right. But I think people's, a bit like the induction we were talking about with Peter earlier in our session, their reason for volunteering or remaining a volunteer probably, or I think we've moved away from the subject slightly, but it will, again, if they've come up for the CV, but their motivation for remaining may change. Mm-hmm. And I think it's probably worth talking to them, partly in our case, I don't know everybody else, but partly in our case, we have a fair number of individuals who come to us who have certain, issues and are building their lives again. Mm-hmm. And so they will become more, it sounds wrong, isn't it? I was going to say they'll become more valuable to us. That's a bit unfair, really, but they may be able to do, they'll certainly be able to do more. I mean, we've got several got individuals at the moment who really couldn't do when they came to us, and one of them's been with us for about 18 months, I suppose, the other one's only for a year, and they couldn't do what they do now. They just wouldn't have been able to do it 18 months ago, which actually is extremely refreshing, really, and makes a bit of a warm, cuddly feeling again. But it is it's actual practical winning on both sides, really.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a confidence booster when you start volunteering. I think getting back into that routine and meeting different people like yourselves and learning what you're good at as well, I think.
Yeah, and it breaks. And I think if you are struggling for whatever reason, it doesn't matter how much help or support you're getting, you're probably in a room, I assume, who knows, but you may be in a room for large parts of the day or night or whatever on your own. You've only got your own thoughts. You sort of, potentially, I guess, you probably might be defeating yourself. And so you thrown into a volunteering environment with a mixed bag of individuals, closer to the work situation, but not quite, a bit more supportive, hopefully. And that is a great way in, and all of a sudden, well, actually, I can do this, and I suppose it's beholden upon us, really, as organisations, to keep abreast of that, to keep that induction, keep that conversation going, because you don't want to slow the process. If there's more and more and more that can be done, then you need to be feeding that through, and that is quite a discipline, really, to keep on that, because you can get into discussions about 3 monthly or half yearly or annual reviews and stuff, which sometimes get waved about, don't they? And people shudder. But even if you do it in an informal fashion, it's worth having those conversations, because people will say something in a sort of semi-formal situation over a cup of coffee that they won't say. Some people, depending on how they react, that they wouldn't say it day to day, coming in, fulfilling their role, doing whatever you've asked them to do and going away again. They wouldn't think to ask, but you sit them down and actually ask the question, what else should we be doing? And sometimes they will say things that you don't expect.
Yeah, Neil?
That's my role as volunteer manager across our 3 sites. Obviously, I'm a volunteer champion, champion volunteers, what they can do for us, but also what we can do for them. And I wholeheartedly agree that it is CV building as well. But for me, volunteering is very special. People come to us for many different reasons for what CV building is one of them as well. I'm just interested, we keep volunteering and work experience completely separate at our 3 sites because they are completely different. So I just wondered how you ran it and also how you see the differences as well. So I've got it in my head. And,
When you say work experience, just clarify, are you talking about work experience as in that week-long experience for...
I will spend more time within in that week because they are only with us for a week, so they've got a lot to sort of, I like them to learn about what we do so they can actually go away with something, not just saying I did some painting or I made some food parcels up. So telling them all about the other areas of what we do and why we do it, and hopefully them understanding a lot, especially about why we do what we do there. So we don't keep it separate at all, but I do tend to try and spend a bit more time with them, just teaching them a little bit more in that, so I can get it all in that 1 week, whereas it's not sort of over time.
So you've got more of a programme when you know you've got a work experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say the museum, we struggle to provide work experience for school. And I'd rather not do it at the time than give somebody an inadequate experience, which is how I've said it to the team really. We do work experience from the, as I say, from the foreign language students, and that's a very variable thing. You know, we can have somebody who is really great, and I'm not fully aware of the system, or I'm becoming more aware of the system, but there's quite a bit of sort of modern apprenticeship work going on in Europe at the moment, or certainly in Germany, from a couple of experiences we've had this year, where a guy came and he'd already done a year, he'd already done a year at college, I think, but he was working as well. So he was working for a company, a manufacturer or something. But although it was completely different to what he'd doing with us, he brought a lot of that stuff with him. And I mean, he could have run the place, I think, given him a few more weeks. He was great. He was a good lad. He wasn't a stereotypical German, but he had certainly the hallmarks of efficiency and the work ethic, which were great. But he had a good sense of humour and all other extras, and it was great. And then you can go the other way, but he clearly wanted to be there. You go the other way, and there's people that have perhaps been sent by various whoever, I'm not sure who, it's quite a challenge to engage with them really. We only do it, it's a bit merciless really, we only do it really because it's worth engaging and trying that bit harder for somebody who's going to be with you for 4 or 5 weeks. We get more out of them, which is a bit of it's a bit of an admission, but that's the case really.
Well, that's where it's like champion volunteers, as in they are special, they want to be here, they want to help us out, they're there for different reasons for all of us, whereas some, it's just a smaller work experience, they've got to go and do something, so we've had that.
It's not something that I've had experience with actually in terms of volunteering work. The nearest is like with radio, which before within sort of working for another radio station. That actual volunteering is seen as very different as work experience, but particularly when you're working with younger people, because it's all like it's more like the legals and that side of it that you have to have in place, and actually that comes to be a bit of a barrier because it's like there isn't somebody there always at the station to sort of support the person, then so actually we can't do the work experience in the way that we want to. So that's been more the barriers, because again, working in a voluntary environment, you've not had somebody regularly there for you. But certainly with Riviera FM, I mean, the volunteer training that we get is absolutely amazing, and it's as if you were going to be in a professional radio station with, proper like sort of BBC level support, and being able to shadow, and it is almost as if you're having a work experience. So I think it's about delivering the level of training and support like that can make you a professional outfit, whether that's volunteer or whether that's work experience.
I know from discussions in the past with me, I completely understand why the zoo made that distinction. I think possibly from that exchange there, you come to understand that although volunteer can be quite a broad term and cover lots of things, work experience actually can cover a huge range from the traditional sense of just maybe the school work experience where somebody is there for a week or a fortnight, which obviously is completely different and is very, very time intensive. through to the mandated work program, which we're part of Keep Volunteering Voluntary, so we don't touch for various reasons. The main one being that we think it denigrates the term volunteering by being compulsory and seen as punishment. And actually, again, my experience is people who come because they're made to, often more often it's counterproductive, it's a lot of work. But also there's people who I think whose primary motivation may be to build their CV, which could be seen as work experience. They may have made a conscious decision that they, rather than going to maybe as an internship or a placement in the private sector, if they're going to give their time to it, rather do it for a good cause. So it's possibly there's probably quite a lot of grey area in there and mixed motivation as well.
And it's just making sure that when people come to you, they say, well, this is volunteer, we can't give you that training program. We give you that training program for your role, but there's not a wider training program. But work experience within these guidelines, and that might be something for you. That's where you get the training for the board.
There is obviously some similarity, isn't there? Because somebody will come to us and they'll say, "Oh, little Freddie," sounds a bit, I'm being a bit flippant really, but little Freddie was really keen on time team or something, although time team's finished, so little Freddie wouldn't have seen it, but he's really keen on archaeology or whatever else, and he'd like to do this or like to do that. And I have to say, well, what you come for when you arrive at Torquay Museum is you'll get something of an insight in running effectively a visitor attraction. Quite, potentially quite busy visitor, depending on what time of year you come, potentially quite a busy visitor attraction. You will be exposed to the culture, to the history. You will see some archaeology, but you won't be out on any digs or anything like that. And I guess it's the same as people saying they want to work with tigers. Well, you might see one, but that's probably as close as you would get. I don't know.
Oh, thank you. I suppose you just mentioned about training and how that we have a different approach to training in a work experience setting as opposed to a volunteer setting. And I just wondered if lots of people are volunteering or wanting to volunteer to develop their CVs, what part training sort of plays in the incentives, right, for people to join your volunteers? Is that clear enough? Is training something that could attract more volunteers?
Well, I think
that may make it work experience.
But it certainly would be an avenue to explore at the museum, in the museum context, I'm sure, if we had the resources to achieve a sort of level of training that, because it's only going to work, but well, from our point of view, it's going to work for the individual, but as far as an advertising tool is concerned, so to speak, it's only going to work if it's sustainable and we come up with the goods every time, isn't it? And people pass. Am I talking the right sort of, so again, I'm being a bit mercenary, but if it's in terms of attracting more volunteers, we'd have to make sure we came up with the goods each and every time, which I don't think I don't think currently we're able to do that. I mean, we can certainly use it if everybody bought into it properly, we could use that as a selling tool, yeah.
I only ask because I'm aware of a scheme where training is an explicit part of the volunteering scheme.
Yeah.
And a lot of training, correct me if I'm wrong guys, but a lot of training for volunteers is free or subsidised. So, but you mentioned you go to a training provider.
Learn directly.
Yeah. So a lot of that training is available for presumably volunteers and any organisations.
Yeah, there are sometimes training that volunteers can go to outside the organisation within their roles.
But the point I'm making is, if actually there is challenges recruiting volunteers, and volunteers, a lot of those who are expressing interested in building their CV, is there something that we could be doing to improve the training offer as a further incentive? If there's training available, we could partner up with some of these training organisations who offer generic training which would look good on CVs. I just wondered whether that might be...
Well, certainly I worked for the air ambulance before, and I'm not sure they still do it, but there was quite a few of the shops would have connections with the NVQ, the retail NVQ elements, and so you'd be helping, contributing, but at the same time picking up experience, yeah.
I think as well, the last time we met Trudy May from the Healthy Lifestyles team, she said about the free training that's available to all staff who work in charities and volunteers. So I put that out to everyone, and I went on it with myself, and that was really helpful. The sessions on mental health, first aid, the one that you just ran, Charlotte, on wellness recovery action planning, and that would be really useful for volunteers in certain roles. So yeah, definitely we do sort of promote it, and I think it's definitely worthwhile if you do have specific training that you deliver as part of the volunteering offer, to include that in your role descriptions when you send it over to us to promote it and do it, because that is a great thing to sort of shout about, and that it might set you aside from somewhere else. Definitely a good thing to include, and might attract volunteers who are looking to develop their CVs. Any other questions for our panel? Or any personal experiences from the floor about volunteer motivations?
You all right? When actually back I was going the opposite way. You know, I didn't volunteer for my CV, but I found that having volunteered through Daybreak, because of what they did for me personally, I wanted to help give something back. Which is why I started. But I've now found that actually wanting to move into a different job, I found that having it on my CV is making a big difference.
That's great to hear. Really good to hear.
So rather than going into, I didn't do it in order to CV build, but I found that just almost by accident it has built my CV.
Yeah, I think it's about grabbing those opportunities when you are volunteering, because it can help shape your life and or take you in a different direction, can't
very
it?
much so,
yeah.
I think for a lot of our volunteers as well, their main reason is to be part of their recovery. They will volunteer for, because it gives them the purpose that they've missed maybe through work, through not having work, so they can volunteer with a lot less pressure than what they would get maybe in the workplace. And then they sort of come to us at a point where they're not even thinking about work. So a CV is the last thing on their mind. And then we build their confidence and support them so much that actually employment seems possible again. So it actually becomes the main reason at the end.
Sure, yeah. That's great.
I can't even suggest I have a clue as to some of the problems and challenges, but even in your own way, sometimes if you get little bits of down, you break out, don't you? It's like well, actually, that's not as hard as I thought, and then that adds to another level, and then it becomes, instead of being a spiral down, it becomes a spiral up, doesn't it? I guess.
And for those volunteers that do say they want to develop their CV, do you often look at it, or do you help them with application forms?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Will do after today.
Good to hear.
I'm just thinking about my experience and what Simon said. I mean, my experience of volunteering is quite a few decades ago now, actually. But how, kind of for me, it was about going out and getting an understanding of social issues because I was studying. So that's kind of how I got in, and that led to a career path I didn't really set out to. But why I was just linking into what Simon said was, along that way, actually, I did have access to lots of training that I wouldn't have necessarily thought I would have needed, or that I would have gone and sought, but it came up. So kind of, I really think that's really, really important, that if you are going, and then actually not only are you building up something for a CV, but if we're talking in general, that volunteering attracts lots of people for lots of different reasons. You're character building, aren't you, as well as skill set building and everything, and networking. So more of that, what is available for free, this is what you can offer, this is what we can offer as various different organisations, I think is a really biggie, just based on what I got, which was all kinds of training.
I think I had the all-round package actually. Just thinking about listening to people now, I started volunteering for Simon's organisation a few years ago, about 5 years ago, and I was trying to fill some time, possibly trying to get something on the CV. I hadn't worked for a very long time. I come from a very chaotic background. Sort of when I saw something about some volunteering, started doing a little bit. More often it was like just to fill some time. Sort of my social life was something I didn't want to go back to. I didn't have any sort of much of a social life, so and through that experience, before I knew it, I was. And it's funny because when I started working and getting paid, things changed. There was an element of it for me. It wasn't the same as when I was volunteering. So that feeling of like the satisfaction from giving something back freely went. I still continue to volunteer today in different capacity for a self-help group, which I do like quite a lot for. But the experience I got really quickly, I was working, part-time and then full-time, another door open, and I've got another opportunity there. So it was a real worthwhile experience. But it was an all-round package. It was fulfilling time for a CV, getting some social experience and some new peer group, and.
So would you say the volunteering you did a few years ago led you to the job you're in today, would you say?
Yes. No.
Yeah, good to hear.
I think, it just, slowly.
Yeah, it's about grabbing opportunities as well.
Maybe that, experience, maybe that's not the same for everybody, but I think, I was fortunate. I'm local, I've been before long, so I had some sort of connections with some people already. I was in a supportive living environment, they were sort of very supportive. I ended up working there for a while. I worked with them for 6 months. And then moved on from there, and we were open. But it's been a and a lot of training as well was offered, so that was really worthwhile. Was it relevant? Yeah and no. But I think it just gave me some self-esteem. I've got lots of certificates in the folder, which I took for my interviews and stuff, and that sort of stuff. So it was very worthwhile.
That's cool.
I think in our position, it's quite nice to hear, indirectly from that, but also from the individuals that they will say, or they'll go off and they'll say, well, can they come back and put something back? And because, in a way, we're doing it as part of the job, so I don't think it takes any of the passion away, but sometimes because there's so much else to do, you sort of forget. It's easy to forget what benefit or what pleasure individuals are taking from their volunteering. Does that sound? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because especially when it's busy and all you're trying to achieve, you're trying to make sure there's somebody on the desk or somebody taking the money or somebody helping or guiding in the galleries, or in my case. But you forget that actually it might be becoming a drudge for me for a time. I try to stop that, but it could be. Whereas that person's coming in and thoroughly enjoying every moment they spend with us, and it's quite nice. It's quite nice if they tell you that. It's a big help, really.
We've had people that haven't particularly wanted to come, and they have a choice of a few different places, and actually, at the end of the day, they've gone, actually really enjoyed that, and that's brilliant. That's good. Yeah, not all of them, but
I think as well, when people sort of decide to volunteer, not necessarily to develop their skills, when they're doing sort of certain tasks, I think I always tend to say, you really develop your communication skills here, your customer service skills, and they actually don't realise what they're getting out of it. It's actually when they start to write their CV again, they think, I'm getting so much out of this. So I think it's always good to kind of keep reminding them of that, because sometimes you don't really realise what you're developing until you actually stop and think about it.
The job is, it does have a slight, it's a something for nothing view with people who haven't been exposed to it or haven't tried it, and it actually works the other way more. You actually get more out than you put in a lot of the time. I found.
I think it's about being proactive as well. I often say that to people in Learn Direct about volunteers taking on the opportunities that's offered to them and making sure that they speak to everyone in the office when they're there to get to know how people got into their roles, and I think that's really important as well, because obviously all volunteer coordinators are so busy and that's their role to manage volunteers, but equally volunteers should try and be proactive where they can to try and get the best out of the experience and take opportunities when they can, and that's important as well. So any final questions from our panel before we break for lunch? No, I think it's been really useful. I think that really interesting how you sort of said, or how discussions came about, that people might not start to volunteer, develop their skills, but sort of start off for a different reason, like to get back into routine again or develop confidence, and then it can lead to developing CV and then a different job, and that was really interesting. I think you provided great sort of different experiences from your backgrounds as well, so thank you very much for taking part, and thank you to everyone as well. Just before we break, do remember, if you don't want your photo being taken, then do let Matt know, so you can not use the photos. And if anyone can take part in our little short video clips, then we'd be most grateful. And enjoy lunch. Well, thank you for
Sorry,
Yeah.
this is Rachel's gig, so first of all, thank her because she set all this up, and in the past I did most of it, but this is Rachel's program. It's been brilliant, thank you. Rachel actually is now full-time and permanent member of staff, and temporary contract for that, so it's brilliant.